and welcome to my session in XamExpertDay. I'm really happy to be here. There have been a lot of great sessions. The session with Randy Achanling about UX, that was an amazing session. The electric engineering in me would love to see the session that should be happening in track 1 now with Samir about the Raspberry Pi with a hand sanitizing station and a mobile app that trigger all of those. That sounds amazing to me. So I'm definitely coming back to the recording. But right here, it's going to be talking about MAUI Blazor and all the choices that we have to use Blazor in a mobile application, how that expand the possibilities that we have to have just one app that runs everywhere. It runs on web, it runs on desktop, it runs on mobile, and the feature is really brilliant with that. So my name is Jose Javier Colombier. I'm a Dev Express and Microsoft MVP, and this talk is MAUI Blazor, one app that runs everywhere. So if we see here, we have like the Blazor and Xamarin teaming together, and that is bringing the MAUI, that is the next evolution of Xamarin Form that David Ortinao just went over and did a great overview. So before we start going into the MAUI Blazor part, let's talk about mobile and .NET. So .NET and mobile, I pretty much am sure that everyone who has been doing mobile for a while have done some native only development. So I did a lot of Java, Android apps back in the days with Android Studio, with Java. And yeah, we did a few great apps, but it was always not my, I didn't feel at home. I didn't was using Visual Studio. That is the tooling that I know. I wasn't using C#, even if Java has a lot of similar things. I was out of home. So when Xamarin chose in 2011 with a traditional Xamarin approach and doing all the bindings, that was like a really good for us. And when Xamarin Forms in 2014 came, you could even not share the logic. You could share also the UI. So that was a really good point to start doing .NET development. And then we have Uno. Uno platform is another way to do .NET mobile. So Uno platform did something really interesting because instead of using the XAML of Xamarin Forms, that is a different flavor of XAML, he used the XAML of UWP. And really smart, they did an interface for dependency object. And with that interface, they could map every element to the native element. For example, they did for every view in Android, it was inheriting from view. In iOS, from UI view. So they were really, really neat, was able to do let's say the translation from the UWP control, and now with WinUI 3, Project Reunion and so on, to the native control. So that was a really, really great thing, and this is another really neat solution. So I just wanted to bring that up in the choices that we have in .NET Mobile. And we also have right here a web. So they also have some bindings for all the HTML control. So with that out of the way, so we have Xamarin Forms, we have Uno, and MAUI, that is the evolution of Xamarin Form. So with MAUI, that is coming now, we were hoping to get it on November of this year with the release on .NET 6, but I think that is a good decision to take a little bit of more time and get everything right, get all the tooling right, get Visual Studio up to speed, get VS Code, and get everything that we need. But pretty much it's coming with support for Windows, for Macs, for iOS, and Android. So this is a really huge thing. We're going to have just one platform, just one code that it will take care to deploy to all these platforms. And I think that this is a great moment to be a developer, because right now the tooling is catching up to everything. So and I love that technology, that intent. If you are a JavaScript developer, you will be able to compile and use JavaScript on the web. You will be able to use React Native. You will be able to compile to mobile. If you are a C# developer, you should be able to reuse all your skills everywhere. And right now with .NET, we have that. We are running .NET everywhere, every platform, every target. So one thing that we're missing here in MAUI is web. And of course, we have the UI web head that Frank Kruger developed. And this is a really interesting solution when he has already almost every control that we need. And oddly enough, he just got like a few months back, I believe, some type of reward for that project because it's a really interesting solution. And of course, we have the web assembly renderers for Xamarin Form that the Uno platform team put together. So pretty much it's going from the UWP project and compiling to WebAssembly. So that's the choices that we have for mobile. We have Xamarin, we have Uno, and we have MAUI that is still in preview. Now let's talk about Blazor. Blazor came with the new way to build interactive web UI with the chart, and we have always had these two, let's say, fields, that is backend and front end, and we used to do all backend in C# because we are a .NET shop, but all our front end we always have to do it in JavaScript, and that was in a chain because we could not reuse their skill. But with WebAssembly, all of those chains, we will be able to compile to that intermediate language, and our browser was able to understand what was going on. So we have Blazor, that is the new way to build rich web UI with C#, and that it has two hosting modes. It has Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly. So WebAssembly is pretty much what we were just talking about. All the DLLs, all the CSS, all the code, all your assets get downloaded to the browser, and then we have a .NET runtime that was compiled to WASM, to WebAssembly, and is able to read and understand all our code and runs natively on the browser, and so you can be completely offline. And we have the other hosting model that is Blazor server, where we have a signal connection. Sorry. So we have a signal connection. We have like a interloop that goes back and forward, sending events to the server and HTML difference to the browser. But it's really, really efficient. And think about this. Let's say that you go to a Blazor server application, and the first thing that you do is you put the URL. So the first thing that happens is the JavaScript client gets downloaded. As soon as that JavaScript client gets in the browser, open a WebSocket, open that persistent connection, and from there, everything starts flowing back and forward. The first thing that it should flow is like, what is my first page? And then the server sends that HTML. So it's really light because the only thing that is sending is that HTML that the browser needs to render. And it doesn't send anything else until it needs to send. So if there is not any change, there is nothing more going to the wire. So it's really interesting solution. So let's quickly review about the architecture of Blazor, just really brief, so to know why it's so important and why it's so interesting to be able to use Blazor mobile, because the architecture is based on reusable components. So if you look at this picture right here, everything is a component. So the navigation on the top, the car's view on the left, the car on the right, all of those are components. So even the app itself, so the main component of Blazor, that is the app component, that's a component. And if you think about that we are based in Blazor in reusable component, we are able to make a composition of components. So every component can have inside nested component and more components. We can have parts and childs, and these components we can put it in a Razor library, we can put it on a NuGet, and we can share it between different Blazor applications. We can share it, as you will see later, in a MAUI Blazor application. We can have it on web, we can have it on mobile, we can have it native, we can have it in desktop. So it's a really interesting and a really exciting approach. And not only that, we can do templates where a component gets as a parameter another piece of HTML. Think about that. We can dynamically render components that we are shaping based on some type of logic, on some type of business requirements. So the same code can render completely different depending of the situation that you present. Now, so I like to say that pretty much the reusable component in Blazor is like the moving section that is a drink inside a drink inside a drink, because it's a component inside a component. And if you don't have that spinning top that is moving around, so you can compose all your UI as nested, as comprehensive as you need. Now, one thing that I also want to mention is the JavaScript interrupt, because Blazor have JavaScript interrupts as a first-class citizen. So you can invoke JavaScript function from .NET methods, and you can invoke .NET method from JavaScript function. And it's so easy and so neat, so well implemented that you can have it right away running. And I know that some people, JavaScript is this love or hate language. So some people love it, some people hate it, some people argue about it, about a strong type, about all the possibilities that it has. But the truth is that JavaScript has been around for years and years, has a lot of libraries, a lot of stable solutions. So we cannot disregard that. So if you have, for example, a control that is already working perfectly in JavaScript, we can call it on C# and use it as let's call it a black box, where we just send the input. We know that's tested, we know that has unit tests, we know that has been used for years, and then we pretty much get the output and we're good to go. We are ready to use it. So let's see how fast and how easy we can use JavaScript interrupt in our Blazor application. So we have in our www root folder, we have a JavaScript file that we pretty much have to refer in our host or index page, depending if it's Blazor server or Blazor WebAssembly. We just put there the reference of that file that we have on JavaScript, and in that JavaScript we have, for example, a message, and that's simple. You inject the JS runtime, and with that one you just invoke it, and that's it. That's all you need to have JavaScript running, and the debugging experience is amazing. You can put breakpoints. It feels like you're doing C# right there. So now the Blazor future, so the roadmap that it has been going on, and we are in the last step. So, but I want to show all of them. So of course, server was first when I think it was released in 2018. Then came WebAssembly, that it was on May 2020, and also we have PWA with that. It gives us extra functionality. So it gives us offline support. We can have the home screen and taskbar. We can include push notifications. So it feels like a native app, but of course we are still in that sandbox that the browser gives us. So we cannot access the file system. We cannot do things that are native to the platform. So the progressive web app is a great solution, but we are still in the sandbox that the browser has. Then we have Electron, a web view. This is another interesting solution, but that already gives us more functionality. So this becomes our Blazor app in a desktop app. Right here we have APIs to access the file system, to access any native functionality. So we can open a Notepad, we can do crazy things. So this is a step above the PWA. And then we have mobile. That is pretty much what we're going to be focusing on, but I wanted to show everything that we can do with Blazor. So when we're talking about mobile and Blazor, the first thing that we have to think is, what are we trying to achieve here? Are we needing any native capability from the device? Or are we just needing a mobile optimized website? So the choices that we have with Blazor and mobile are several, and let's go now one by one. Let's think about, for example, Blazor server. As we were talking about, it have a signal connection that pretty much every processing is happening on the browser, and the only thing that it gets sent is happening on the server, sorry, and the only thing that it gets sent to the browser as the difference of HTML. So think about that. Blazor server has a copy of your DOM in memory, and when you do any change, that change gets sent to the server, get processed, and then only the difference of that DOM of that change is what it gets sent back to the wire to the browser. So let's look at this GIF quickly, and this is an example where you click a button and then we just increment the count and make the label bold. If you see this, the only thing that is being sent to the child is that font weight bold, that style. That's the only thing that is being sent. That's the only thing that is being refreshed. If you remember web form, if you remember MVC, pretty much the whole screen gets pink, and you see that everything got refreshed. Everything was a big callback. Right here is really efficiency. Only the part that changed, that's the only thing that it needs to be sent. So really efficient and really fast. So let's see the messages that are being sent through the WebSocket. If we see the message, we see that we have here the binary messages that are going back and forward. This is not meant to be readable by the user at all, but it is a good representation. We can even see here that if we look closer, that it says full style weight. So right here is being sent that only that, and it's 229 bytes. That's not big by any means. So if you think about it, it's a really lightweight part that is being sent to the mobile. So if we have a mobile web browser, this is the first solution that you should think about. Like, do I need any capability from the device? If I don't, I can definitely do some Blazor server. And let's have a quick sample. Right here, we have a Blazor server application that is a line of business application. And pretty much here, we have a couple of tasks, and we see that if it's high, we put it on red. We have like the image for the avatar of the user. And this is a Blazor server app that if we put in phone mode, right away it optimized to mobile. So right away it takes the space that it needs. And in some cases, this is more than enough. You have here all your actions. You can contract if you need a different action. We have all the editors that we need. We can even have pictures. So we can, because the possibilities that the browser provides has been increasing through the years. So we can even add a picture right here from the app. So this is a really interesting and really easy and fast solution, because especially on Blazor server, we won't have to do a middle layer with an API. We can connect directly to the database, and it's really light because the only thing that is being sent is the HTML change, nothing else. Now, let's continue. We have now WebAssembly. And the first thing that we need to think about WebAssembly is, of course, we can do the same thing. We can have a mobile app in a browser that is using WebAssembly. But WebAssembly does require more load. So it loads all your DLLs, it loads all your HTMLs, all your CSS, all your JavaScript, all your image. So it will be more heavy for the browser. So that's a choice, but you need to think if that like it's not like Blazor server that is really light. Now we have another choice that is PWA. So right here, pretty much when we create a new Blazor project, we can select Progressive Web App, and you will see that we already have the manifest and we already have the service worker if we need to do some caching or any other. And right there, you can install it, and it will look and feel as a desktop, as a native application. And in some cases, and let's create one real quick so we can see it in action. And in some cases, we can even add a little JavaScript that when you open that URL, it prompts you to put it into home screen. I think that we have seen that a few times, that there are a few apps that as soon as you open, there is a pop-up that says, hey, do you want this in your home screen? Go to your settings, put it there, and then when you see it, you even have an icon in your phone home screen that looks whatever, however you want. So it's a really neat solution, again, for some cases where you don't need some native capabilities. But let's see the PWA in action. So we have here Blazor WebAssembly, and let's call it XamExpertDay. Let's click next. Let's give it a second. Let's select here Progressive Web App, .NET 5, and we don't need authentication. We are not going to use ASP.NET Core hosted. This is really recommended if you're going to be accessing any type of API or any type of connection string of your database. But right here, we are just showing the Progressive Web App, so we don't need it. So let's click Create, and let's give it a second. $7:50 a.m. right here, so this coffee is just a blessing. Okay, it's coming. And here you go. So I'm not gonna go too much in the structure of the WebAssembly app, so let's run it and let's see actually the Progressive Web App in function. The things that we can see meanwhile is like we already have a manifest here that it got created by us. Right here with an icon, the image, the size, we have a service worker. And let's see what the error. Hopefully the demo bots today no abandon me. Let's build it. Come on, let's do it. We have a lot to cover, and we only have like 20 more minutes. Okay, it's coming. Okay, perfect. So let's run it. Let's see it in action, and then we will move to more interesting approaches. So if you see right here, it will be the file new project, the counter, the fetch data, everything that we have seen in all the demos of Blazor so far, but it will have the possibility so we can print like the feel, it will make you feel like you are in a desktop application, and you will be able to see the taskbar, the icon, and okay, it's loading. Okay, you see it right here, the same example as we have seen all the time. And right here, we have this install that if we click on it right away, it changes and it feels and it looks like it was a desktop app, and in a mobile it will look the same. So you have here the taskbar, you have the application, so it looks really nice. So let's close it and let's come back to the presentation. So after that, we have again the home screen. It will be in the taskbar. We can add caching and do offline capabilities. We can even do push notification with the Progressive Web App. So now let's talk about another really interesting solution about Blazor WebAssembly in mobile. So this is a community project that they did something that, in my opinion, was really neat. They took a complete Blazor web application and they hosted inside of Xamarin as an embedded resource, and then they use some JavaScript interop to communicate with the .NET runtime in a native app. So think about this. We have two runtimes in this solution. We have the WebAssembly runtime that is running inside that web control, and then we have the .NET runtime, the Xamarin runtime that is running, and we're doing JavaScript interop between both, and then we can, with that one, we can access anything we need. We can access Xamarin Essential, we can access any gyroscope, accelerometer, any native device from the phone. So it's something that, again, like mobile Blazor binding was experimental, MAUI Blazor is still in preview. This you can use it today. This you have been able to use it for a while, right? And in my opinion, it's kind of like PhoneGap, where you pretty much ship your application, all your JavaScript, all your assets, and then you deploy it. So this is something similar, but I was like amazed when I discovered this product. So let's see it here real quick. And if you see, here are the instructions. You can go more in deep, but pretty much to get it running, the only thing that you have to do is install the template that I already did, and then create a new Blazor mobile project, how he call it, and just put any name that you want. I actually copy the same command and run it, so my project is even called my project name. So let's see it right here. So we have a project name, and if we go to the Android and we go to the main activity, you see that right here we have the register app stream resolver. That is the one who helps to find what is the packet. And if we go inside that, you see right here we have the zip that is taking our Blazor, or my project Blazor application is packed in embedded resources, and then it's getting it from here. So I don't know you guys, but I think that this is the kudos to the developer. This is a really good solution. So let's see it in action to see that you will have our application, and then right there it will be able to call any native functionality, any things that we need. And of course, you will be reusing all your web knowledge, all your web components, everything that you have been using in your web application right here natively on Xamarin. How cool is that? Let's give it a second. See the output. This was exactly, in my opinion, the same approach that PhoneGap did. So they used to do it with a lot of React projects, with a lot of JavaScript projects, that they used to like bundle all those resources and all those assets, all that code, and pretty much zip it and put a wrapper around to host it on the Apple Store, to host it on the Android store. So it's a really neat trick. Okay, while that is compiling, because I don't want to spend too much time here, let's move forward. And as soon as this is up, I will bring it back. So the next choices that we have is Blazor Desktop and Electron. So pretty much is you have your Blazor application, and the only, like, there are a few steps involved, but it's really fast. You pretty much add the Electron NuGet package, then you call this Electron API Windows Manager, so you create the windows, and from there in your builder you add the use Electron, and after installing the global tool of Electron, the only thing that you have to do is electronizing it and the target. So right here the target is Win, but this could be Mac, this could be Linux, and it will build your application for that platform, and you will be able to run it as a desktop application natively with access to native API in any of those operating systems. So let's open an example that I have right here. This is a Blazor server application that I already did that, so we don't waste the time, where I already compiled it, and it will be only for Windows, because I will have to set up the Mac and Linux. But pretty much right here we have the Excel file that it created after compile that, and if I run this, you see it was installing. It's installing our application, and you will see our Blazor server application running as a desktop application, that it has more capability than the PWA that we showed before. Let me also review on the Blazor mobile binder. It's taking a little bit because it's compiling all those resources that we just talked about. So, and the Blazor server Electron is also coming. So one of these two should show up at any minute. Should be coming at any second. Come on. This one is still compiling, so we leave it there, but the Electron is almost ready. So if you see, it's already hosted in an Electron window that we can even configure the menu, add new extra options right here, but we pretty much have a Blazor server application inside Electron running natively and with access to native API. So really cool, right? Right here, this is just a demo app that we're using just some crude entities about any domain object, but you can see that the power of having the same Blazor server application that we will have in web inside an Electron window. So let's continue because I think that this is still going to take a little bit compiling, but we have a lot of more things nice to cover. So right here, then the next step was experimental mobile Blazor binding, and this has been the project that was like MAUI is the evolution of Xamarin Forms. So MAUI Blazor has been the evolution of this experimental mobile Blazor binding, and it's really important that the experimental part was there. But right now it's MAUI Blazor Preview 7, Preview 8. So it's really, really neat. So the first thing is like you have your same methodology to build Blazor application, your Razor syntax, your HTML, your CSS, everything that you're used to. So you don't have to change the way to develop. You pretty much can take those components and host it in mobile without web server, like in process right there. So it's really, really neat. And for the Blazor developer, is the way to go. It's the way to be native right away. Same component UI in mobile and desktop, as we just discussed, and you have native access to the device. So the other nice thing is like you can mix and match. You can have your native component and your web component running side by side. And if you have a team that have some people that are really good and some skill in web and some others that are really good in XAML in native, so you can have some hybrid. I always recommend some standardization for maintenance later on, but this is definitely a good approach. So let's see. As we were talking, this is experimental mobile Blazor is the predecessor of MAUI Blazor. So MAUI Blazor is the evolution. Is what we were talking about. We have the web view where we are going to display all our done, and then we have like a Razor component and .NET, and we have a interop channel. So it's like Blazor server, but instead of having a signal connection, we are doing it through JavaScript, and we are communicating with the .NET runtime. So right here, there is no WebAssembly. Right here, there is no signal. This is just a Blazor web view that hosts our component and communicating process with our .NET runtime. So how do I start? How do I start with my Blazor? And I think that is coming. Finally, the Blazor mobile project. Let's see. Should be showing in a second. It took its time, but finally it's here. Let's give it one more minute. If not, we'll come back to the presentation because. Okay, it's coming. It's loading. So it's like Blazor is coming, but it's still not there. Please. Okay, so right here we have it. So this is the project running. This is our Blazor web as a zip and embedded resource in our Xamarin is hosted in our Xamarin application. And if we actually go to the hamburger menu and go to this Blazor mobile and we click on it, we are actually calling native functionality from the device. So this is a native to the Android platform. So right here, this is the alert. This is the display message on Android that we just by looking at it know how it works. So the same thing we can do with iOS, the same thing that we can do with desktop. So this is a really good way to have our Blazor web application hosted in Xamarin and also have access to everything functionality that the device offers, including Xamarin Essentials and so on. So stop this. Actually, let's close it and let's continue with our presentation. So MAUI Blazor, how do I start? So as always, I say, if you want to start with something, get up to it, sitting your laptop, the best way to learn is actually trying. So first thing is, right now, before we have to do a lot of CLI, we have to do a lot of install the template and so on. Right now, everything now has become easier for us. So we install the Visual Studio Community 2022 preview 4 specifically that it was released last month. And then right there, we just check the boss.NET MAUI preview and the template gets installed for you. The .NET 6 runtime gets installed for you and everything that you need. Only thing that you need to take in account in consideration is that you also have to install the Android 12 API 31 and the OpenJDK 11. But if you check for those, you're good to go. So let's get to the demo of MAUI Blazor. So right here we have the code of this app. It's already public in GitHub, so you guys are welcome to go and download it, clone it, and play with it. But let's create a new Blazor MAUI app right away. Let's create a new project. And it will show us the template, and it will be besides the .NET MAUI app template, we have the .NET MAUI Blazor app template, and we are going to call this XamExpertDay as well, because already Gerard took all the MAUI app number. So let's create. And let's take a quick review at what the project structure have with a single project. Let's take a quick review of how things are happening, and let's run the project to see it in action. And then we'll see a demo a little, because this is the file new project. This will have the counter. This will have everything that we have seen in all the demos, and then we'll see a little more comprehensive demo. So right here, what we are seeing, this is the project, and the first thing that we can look, for example, is the program. And right here, we see that right here, we are registering the Blazor MAUI web view. We are adding the Blazor web view, and we're building the same thing that we have been used. So if we go now to the app, we see right here, we're going to the main page. If we go to the main page, we see here that we have the Blazor web view. And if we increase here, we see that he's saying the host page is in the www root file index, and then the root component is local main. So let's see both of those things. One thing that you see with this project structure is right now we have the www with our CSX. We can see here our index page that pretty much has the web view JavaScript and also have this app component in the body. If we come back to the main Razor, that is the one that, if we check here, it's telling us local main. If we go to the main Razor, we will have the router component that we're used to see in our Blazor application that say, hey, if you find the route that I'm pointing to, go to the main layout and use that one as your base. If you don't, just display, sorry, there is nothing at this address. And if we go to the main layout, you'll see that there is the same structure of our Blazor project. We have the dump menu, and we have right here our body. That is where every of all other components get injected. And we have here, if we go to the page, the same that we have seen the counter, the fetch data, the index, and also our services to run. So let's compile this. And while that is compiling, we can also take a look at the CS project. That is really interesting. Right here, you see that we have .NET 6 iOS, .NET 6 Android, Catalyst, and we have the Windows commented out. So right here, we can install an extension that is single project, and then we uncomment that one and we run with Windows. For now, let's see it on Blazor because we are running out of time. But after this is compiled, we should be able to run it and see this project in action. And we think about what we have accomplished with just this. We have accomplished having our Razor component that we will be using in any other Blazor application, in our web application, in Android. But if you are doing MAUI, it's not Android, it's iOS, it's Mac, it's Windows. So just by that, you will have web that you already did with your Blazor component and all the other platform, mobile and desktop. So let's give it a second to finish compiling, and let's run it. Perfect. So let's run the project, and then we come back to how I would like to structure these solutions to better code reusability. Let's run it. Okay, one thing that we forgot to do is we have to go to properties. We need to go configuration and click deploy. So it's able to actually run it. Let's do it again. Okay, right here you see we have the splash screen with the .NET logo, and voila, this should be coming real soon. The Blazor app running natively in the app. How cool is that? So we have here our counter, our fetch data, and so on. So let's do one quick change quickly, and let's see if the hot reload wants to work right here. So right here we can put a stack layout. And if we just hover over, you see that the stack layout comes from the namespace MAUI control stack layout. So that's a native control. But if we go to the Blazor web view, it's coming from web view MAUI Blazor web view. So it's a different namespace. So now right here, we can put label. Actually, let's put here demo expert day. That's it. I have too many things open here. You see, right here we have our emulator, and for some reason it's only showing me the demo expert date, but it should be showing everything. It should be showing the label with the web view right behind it. So let's right below it. So let's run it again and see. And this is the capability that we have. We can mix native, we can make Blazor. So we have an hybrid approach. We have for native components or native UI, and we have for a web UI working together. And right there, you can see right here we have our label and we have our web view. And of course, because we put a stack layout is not positioning correctly, but we can fix that real quick. So let's stop this for a second. Let's actually close it. And let's go to the project, a more complete solution, and how I would like to structure this type of application. So let's come back to it. And let's open, let's find Visual Studio 2022 right here. This MAUI Blazor app. So right here we have three solutions. We have the same MAUI Blazor app, the single project that we just saw. We have a Razor class library where we have just a component called view Razor, and you can see that it's a simple div that is taking some HTML and passing some parameters, the image, the title, and the body text. And we have our Blazor web server app that pretty much again has reference to that Razor class library, and then in our index page we're calling that card view. And for issue, so we are iterating from a collection of card view list, and we are showing that, and pretty much what we're displaying. And let's run the server app first, the Blazor server application. And we'll see that we have that component that we're taking from a Razor class library that actually could be a nugget. We can put that in a nugget and reference to in as many projects as you need. We will have it on web, and then we will be using that same component from that Razor class library on mobile. Let's give it a second, that is coming. If not, let's copy the URL and go directly. And you see here the huge picture. So let's just pretty much click inspect to make it more mobile friendly. This is a talk about mobile. And if you see here, we have our car view displaying on web right away. So with that out of the way, we can see that we have that component using that Razor Cars library on web. So let's see it now working on mobile. So let's set our MAUI Blazor app as a startup project, and we can review here that we have in our index the car view as well. And if we run this, we will be using the same component that we were using on web, we will be using it on mobile. I don't know you guys, but I think that this is amazing. This is something that we can reuse so much. So there are a lot of components that we have used in some applications that now we are able to use it in mobile. We're able to access the native capability of the device. So this is amazing. Let's give it a second. And voila. If you see here, we have the same component that we're using in web, we have it on mobile, running natively in the device. And we have another component that is called Tab Razor, where we can actually put button tabs bar, and we can even see the live summer live preview right here. And if we see, for example, if we go to our chair main layout, so we have the tab bar here, and that tab bar is another Razor component. So the possibilities that we have here are endless. We go here and we have here all those button tab bar that we just showed. So the future is really promising. So let's come back to the slide for just a second, because I think that we are almost out of time. So few last notes are MAUI Blazor. The web content is in the same process as the rest of the app. So there is no web server, there is no HTTP request, everything is running right there locally. There is no remoting between app domains or anything crazy like that. We're using Visual Studio, all the tooling that we know. And if you know, MAUI is also going to have support for VS Code. It is run everywhere MAUI runs. Like with mobile Blazor Band, it's like running everywhere Xamarin Functions run. This will run everywhere MAUI runs. So how complete is it? That's depending of your requirement. Of course, it's still in preview, so you need to take some precaution. But so far, we have had some really good luck and really good experience with it. So definitely, I will encourage you. So before, I used to say, just let's wait a little bit to jump in the MAUI chip. Now is the time. Go for it. So in the .NET 6, there is a lot of things that are coming for Blazor, like hot reload, like IoT compilation, deploying to desktop, and more and more and more. And all of this, when you will be able to have to take advantage of on your MAUI Blazor apps. .NET 6 is coming on November. We're really excited about that, about .NET Conf 2021. So next time that someone asks you what is the way to do mobile development, if you're going to be using HTML so versus XAML or all that discussion, you say we can do both. So there hasn't to be a gladiator fight. So we can actually select what we're more productive with and roll with it. And lastly, I want to mention that David also mentioned it, but the DevExpress is offering free MAUI controls. So if you see, they also have even a template for creating your projects where you can select, I want to target only Android or iOS. I plan to use charts, collection, data grid, scheduler. And this is completely free for these two versions, for 20.1, I believe, and 21.1. So if you got it now before November 30, this will be free forever. Of course, that version, but if this version has everything you need for your project, hey, take it before November. I think that is a good investment either way. If you're not going to move forward, that is good to have it on your toolbox. With that out of the way, I want to say thank you for the XamExpertDay to invite me, and for everyone who is here on the talk with us, especially with so much of a great talk that Samer is giving in the other track. Really excited to be here. If you have any questions, you feel free to reach me on Twitter. I have had a blast here, so hope you guys learn something.